I'm Tiege.
And I'm Sam,
And we are your well-informed girlfriends.
bringing you today's news, gossip, and unsolicited hot takes. This week, we're talking about the latest in Iran and why gas prices are so high, plus a new viral trend called China maxing.
Wow, we're maxing everything, aren't we?
Everything is maxed.
Everything is going to the max in 2026. Plus, we're also talking about America's money blind spot, swag gaps in relationships. Can you believe? And we're also talking about, of course, a new dating trend called sweeping, just in time for spring cleaning.
Perfect. Love to hear it.
We love it. All that and so much more on today's episode of Well-Informed Girlfriends.
So let's get started. We're going to start with a serious topic.
Okay.
Just because, we're at war in Iran, and so we
Right.
should probably talk about it.
Uh-huh.
It's entering its third week, no ceasefire in sight.
Mm-hmm.
Interestingly, Sunday morning, President Trump told NBC News that he's not even sure Iran's new supreme leader is, quote, even alive.
What?
He
Oh, I missed
been
that.
he hasn't been seen since becoming the leader. He just put out like a written statement that somebody read on national media there.
Okay.
And so no one's like seen him. So he's probably been injured is what widely is being reported. But Donald Trump today saying that he wasn't sure he was alive.
But also maybe he's hiding because he's...
I mean, almost certainly. Like, why
Right.
wouldn't you be hiding, right?
Right. So it's like tough to say if he's
Tough to
hiding
say.
or gone.
Yeah, and Trump has a tendency to sort of like vamp. So
Right.
there's that. Anyway, so Trump said that the U.S. isn't ready to negotiate a ceasefire, even though he believes that Iran wants a deal.
Okay.
Instead, he warned the U.S. could launch more strikes on Iran's main oil export hub, Karg Island, and he called on other countries to send in warships to help secure the Strait of Hormuz. That's the narrow waterway you've undoubtedly heard about, where 20% of the world's oil passes.
Mm-hmm.
And already the fighting there has pushed global oil prices to above $100 a barrel.
Wow. If I saw something, if we get to like $200 a barrel, it will like mean a global recession, not just like United States, but like everywhere will have to like totally have a recession. So hopefully that doesn't happen. But
that would not be great.
Yeah, so it is crazy. I mean, things are changing so rapidly. Hopefully we can like stabilize a little bit. But it is interesting. All these other countries that really didn't want to get involved in this seem to be kind of being brought into this, and now they're like having to get involved because of the oil supply, because it is such a huge thing for our global economies.
Exactly.
Analysts also say that the key factors to watch here are production decisions by major exporters and global economic growth overall.
Oh, that makes sense. So, but all of it is all dependent on whether or not they can get it out of the region.
Right.
So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Okay. This next story, we're maxing something else.
Yes. Everything is to the max these days.
Oh my gosh. Here we go.
So basically a meme going viral online right now is called China maxing.
Okay.
And some experts say it might actually be boosting China's global influence.
What does it mean?
So it's like people leaning into Chinese lifestyle habits, like drinking hot water, tea culture, or doing specific Chinese skincare routines.
Ooh.
And similarly along that line, another meme going viral is "You met me at a very Asian time in my life." And it's a riff on that famous line from Fight Club, "You met me at a very strange time in my life."
Oh.
And they're similarly talking about taking deep dives into Asian culture, skincare products, bubble tea, so on and so forth. And I'm saying this, by the way, as an Asian person. I'm half Asian. And like, all of this to say, it is a little culture appropriative. However, it's meant to be done in like a
sweet way.
Yeah, a fan kind of way.
Right.
But analysts are saying that these kinds of trends can also function as soft power for the nations that they're talking about, specifically China in the China maxing one. And that kind of shapes how people see the country through culture instead of politics. So obviously in the US, there's like a lot of government talk about how China is a dictatorship and that sort of thing. This is giving people a different alternative view of how China looks. And some researchers are criticizing it, saying that specifically Chinese influencers and state media are amplifying these trends online, blurring the line between what is organic internet culture and what is actually subtle propaganda that's produced by the state of China.
That's interesting. I can go either way on that. First of all, I think like these trends and the cultural things that they do there are really cool, and I think we should know about them. And it's nice for us to know what like the people are doing.
Exactly.
But I also understand like the idea of a government getting involved in like really pushing a narrative that might not be totally true of like what's going on over there. Who knows?
Yeah, it's a tough needle to thread to some degree, because like the people of China are not doing, you know what I mean? Like I'm so interested in what they're up to, but it is hard to say like what is and isn't. So anyways, all that to say, look at what you're looking at online carefully, I guess.
Yeah, well, and you talk about Chinese influence on TikTok, especially.
Yeah, use your
on
best
one of the
judgment,
biggest platforms, right?
Right, exactly. And so, similarly, the algorithm is still owned by ByteDance. So you never really, it's tough to be sure. But I think a lot of it is just meant to be a fun thing. Like, who's not a fan of bubble tea or
Oh,
whatever?
oh my
Like,
gosh.
I can't be too mad about it.
Give me a boba tea
Exactly.
and the sunshine, and there's nothing better. A
Yeah,
milk boba tea. I used to be obsessed with boba tea in college.
that's
It
funny.
was like my favorite little treat.
A sweet treat.
A sweet treat.
We
We love
love.
it. Did we just say that at the same
I
time?
know, we're the worst.
Wow. Okay, this next story I thought was really interesting. So, there's a recent article from The Atlantic that argues that one of the biggest divides in America isn't just political, it's actually class. And the author calls this divide between ordinary Americans and what she calls the comfort class,
Mm,
quote unquote. So, the idea is that many people running these institutions we have here, politics, media, academics, come from financially stable backgrounds and don't fully understand how people actually experience money. So, just to quickly break down what she calls the comfort class, it's not necessarily ultra rich people, but instead it's people who grew up financially stable with safety nets. So, for
mm,
example, maybe you're someone who graduated college with little to no debt, or you've always had financial family support, something to fall back on if you ever had tough times. Being able to like take lower paying but influential jobs in the fields like media, academics, and government. We see this
right.
all the time,
Oh, for sure.
especially in entertainment out here. That's just what I
Yeah.
know. Like assistants and stuff in entertainment, like those jobs are not always high paying jobs. So you almost have to come from
You
affluent
Yeah, you
families.
literally can't afford to live in LA or like New York. If you want to be a page at NBC, you can't afford
Right.
that unless your parents are supporting you.
Exactly. So yeah, very interesting. So that's kind of what she describes as this comfort class. And according to the article, many major institutions are dominated by people from this group.
Yeah.
So as a result, policies and cultural conversations can be shaped by people who rarely interact with Americans living paycheck to paycheck, which I think this is so interesting. Because honestly, the way people experience money in this country, an overwhelming amount of people do have financial anxiety. They do, struggle with stress around finances. And so this article notes that financial stress can affect the brain
Oh,
similarly.
yeah.
Similarly to sleep deprivation, and can reduce decision making ability. So it can really affect you, this financial stress.
Right.
But these people in the comfort class don't really understand that, especially if you have these people that are from the comfort class at the top of these institutions making decisions for the people that are maybe struggling a little bit below them, and they don't understand. They are not able to conceptualize what these people are thinking or stressed about because
Yeah.
they've just never been in that position,
Oh, for
which
sure.
I think is really interesting. So the author argues that class is the major inequity Americans rarely confront directly, because it's hard to say, it's hard to conceptualize all of that, right? Like,
Yeah.
you think, oh, we're just like getting paid the same, but it's like we're not, because we come from different
Yeah.
backgrounds. So this number of what we have on our paycheck means something entirely different to me than it does to you if you come from a different place,
Yeah.
right? Or
Oh,
like
for
financial
sure.
instability, or maybe your family back home is relying on you to pitch in a little bit and help
Mhm.
you, like there's just so many different things. So I guess the takeaway of this whole argument was that America doesn't just have this wealth gap.
Right.
Instead, it really has an experience gap.
Oh, for sure.
So people are designing these policies and shaping culture at the top, and they've often not lived with the kind of financial instability that many Americans face maybe below them.
Right.
So, yeah, according to the article, until that disconnect is addressed, a lot of political debates will keep talking past the real concerns of everyday people.
Oh, I can see that just in everyday life. I remember explaining to someone that like a grand of my paycheck
Yeah.
went into, well, first of all, I made more than a grand in a paycheck. Like
Mhm.
that's something. But like a grand of it went to student loan debt.
Yeah.
And they were like, "So how are you living?" And I was like, "Well, that's why I'm working at this coffee shop job in addition to my media job." Like,
Yeah.
what do you mean? How am I living? Like, yeah, that's and people just like don't understand
Yeah.
that that's the difference in lived experience. It's just tough.
Totally. Yeah, no, I do think it's interesting. And I think it's particularly interesting because it's like, again, you get the people at the top who are making the decisions, who are in these positions of power, who have never maybe faced financial instability because they come from the comfort class. And then they're making decisions for people that are below them that are like, that maybe do have, have struggled financially. So I
Yeah.
think it's really interesting. I think it is something we need to start talking about. And I'm happy that this author put this piece together because I think it's,
For sure.
Definitely
I
pertinent.
also have to say, as like we as I continue to live my life and I meet people from wherever of higher class, like
Mhm.
higher economic class, I've noticed a lot of them are staunchly believe that they're middle class. Have
Oh,
you
yeah.
experienced this? They're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, well, I'm just upper middle class." I'm like, "Girl, no, you're rich." Like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I do think that's interesting. Well, because I think when you look at people who have, like, I don't know, like, or a little bit more wealthy than, than the
The
average
average person,
bear,
yeah.
I think they look at themselves compared to the billionaires.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah, yeah.
I
They're like,
think
"Well, I
they're
can't
comparing.
afford a mansion in Beverly
Yeah.
Hills, and therefore I'm not upper class." I'm like,
Like, I
"Girl,
think that
what?"
they weirdly compare. Like, I would never compare myself to a billionaire because I'm so far from that. It doesn't
Yeah,
make any
same,
sense conceptually
obviously.
in my brain. But like, I think they are a little bit closer to that, so they
Yeah.
compare themselves to like a billionaire, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
they're like,
oh,
"Well,
that,
I don't have a private jet. Like, I
yeah,
just fly first class." I'm like,
yeah.
"What?"
So I think it's just like different strokes for different folks. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
um,
Okay, what's this next one about?
okay, this next story is about swag gaps in relationships.
Okay.
Okay, let me break it down. So, we're talking about this weird trend that's popping up in conversations around dating and relationships. Basically, the idea of relationship gaps. Now, we've seen this before.
Sure. An age
Okay,
gap.
an age gap, a swag gap, and a new one. Oh, actually, two new ones I'd like to mention: a party gap.
What?
That's like people that like you are a partier, your partner's not a partier.
Oh,
That's a
okay.
party gap.
Okay.
And then an intelligence gap, which
Oh.
I never understand people who can date people that are like totally different on different intellectual levels. I'm like,
Yeah.
we can't even go
What do
to
you talk
dinner.
about? Like
No, like if you don't know what I'm talking about, like this isn't going to work regardless. Anyway, so all of these gaps are now we're talking about them. The article points out that once you start thinking this way, it can basically attach the word gap to almost anything,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
Fashion gap,
I think in every heteronormative
fitness
couple,
gap.
there's like a fashion gap between the girl and the guy.
Of course. Of course. Honestly, if there isn't, if the guy has more style, that
It's like, what are
might
you
be
doing?
a red flag.
Yeah, I know. I'd be like, suspicious. You're spending way too much time on this.
And why are you better dressed than me?
Yeah. I also just don't love that.
Yeah. So this author actually argued that this could be a little bit of a problem in our
Yeah.
thinking. So it kind of turns relationships into a compatibility checklist.
Mm.
So instead of asking, do we care about each other? We start asking like, are we equally cool? Are we fashionably the same? Are we equally smart? Do we have the same hobbies? And if the answer is no, suddenly people online treat that difference as a big red flag.
Yeah.
But relationships have always involved big differences.
Of course.
There's
yeah.
always going to be a swag gap. Come on. Someone's always going to be cooler. Sorry, it's just like what it is.
You're never exactly the same on every category. That would be crazy.
Right, exactly. So, I don't know. I guess the main takeaway here is that relationships don't need to be perfectly balanced in every dimension. And sometimes the difference is just that. It's a difference, not a problem. And maybe instead of constantly measuring partners against one another, we should start focusing on things that actually predict healthy relationships. Oh man, like respect, trust, communication,
Sure,
vibes,
sure.
vibes.
Vibes. We
You
love
know?
it. Yeah. I mean, like
Yeah.
if you labeled every difference to be a deal breaker, then like you would just die alone for sure.
Right. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like, oh, I can't do it because we have a party gap. I will say
That is tough.
the party gap is particularly important. I had a
Yeah.
girlfriend who was dating a guy who she was gonna marry, but she wanted to go out way more than he did. And ultimately they had to end things because he was annoyed by her partying. It really wasn't partying, it was just like going out and being social.
Yeah, yeah.
And she was like, he just wanted to stay home. And so
Yeah. You know,
that's a big difference.
I married a guy. We definitely have a party gap to some degree. I'm not like raging, that would be crazy, but like being social. But he's perfectly content to be home by himself, doing whatever. He's like reading a book or playing a video game. Like
well, I think
he's
that's good.
cheerfully, he's like, okay, have fun. And I'm like, bye. And it works out great because then I get to maintain, my identity outside of marriage. And he gets to like have his introverted reset time where I'm not yapping at him.
Yeah. I actually think that is kind of nice. I think that the difference there is like you guys are able to be like, we can both do this. I think sometimes people get upset.
Yeah, they're like, I want to be home with you.
Yeah, and like I don't want you to party, And I think that's where the disconnect comes.
For sure. And again, disclaimer, I am not raging. I'm just going out to dinner with girlfriends. But yes,
no, totally,
exactly.
totally.
No, I think that that's healthy too. You can't have everything be exactly the same, or like otherwise you're dating yourself. That's kind of weird.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Keeps
no,
things
totally.
interesting this way.
Yeah. Okay, this next thing I wanted to talk about because it's been popping up online.
Yeah. So some people online are saying it's actually cheaper not to have health insurance. The idea is to sort of skip monthly premiums and just pay cash up front for medical care
Yeah.
because otherwise you have high deductibles and routine services can cost less upfront.
Yeah, I wanted to put this in the episode because I've seen so many people online start talking about like, "Hey, I'm not doing health insurance in 2026. I took my family off health insurance and I am paying less evidently because they're paying out of pocket, they're paying cash." So I thought this was interesting if you want to break down how this is happening.
Yeah. So basically, if they take themselves off of health insurance, you have
Yeah.
to just pay cash up front, self-pay cash prices. And that can be lower than what your insurance is billed.
Mhm.
And that's partly because hospitals have these really high charge master prices that
Yeah.
start as serving points for insurance negotiations.
Okay.
And if you pay cash, that can bypass those negotiated systems to lead to lower prices upfront. However, experts say this is actually a huge gamble because if you have one emergency, you get in a car crash, you get cancer, whatever, it could lead to insane, massive medical debt. And while
Mhm.
there isn't a federal penalty for going uninsured, a few states like California and Massachusetts can still fine your state taxes if you don't have coverage.
Wait, what? They can fine you if you don't have coverage?
Yeah, it's like 5 or 6 of the larger Democratic states, and also New Hampshire,
That's actually kind
that
of
fine you for not coverage. Well, because it was illegal to not have health insurance coverage federally until 2017, 2019. It was all part of the Affordable Care Act initially until part of it was repealed.
but that's kind of annoying because like what if people don't have money to pay for insurance?
Well, initially the Affordable Care Act was passed so that everyone would have an affordable
And I guess
care.
if you look, yeah, fair.
Famously.
Thank you. No, thank you for breaking it down for real. But no, like I think about like California, I guess, and when I think about people that are out of work and whatever, California is great at getting coverage and like pretty decent care if you're
Yeah.
out of work. So I guess that makes sense.
Right. And so, I mean, like, listen, it feels super appealing, and I totally get why. And a third of Americans are cutting back on essentials like food or utilities to afford healthcare. So I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But it is a huge risk because anything catastrophic would just like put you into hundreds of thousands of dollars in medical debt.
Yeah. Wow. This is really interesting. I wonder what'll happen because there's just been so many changes with the insurance systems, and insurance has obviously we know at the start of this year, everyone was talking about how the premiums and like what they're actually paying is like
Yeah.
gone through the roof.
Oh, for sure. And I think that's kind of why we're seeing this pop up so much more, is people are like, I just simply cannot afford whatever it is a month.
Right. And then if you think about having kids too, like on insurance, it's like that. I think that must boost everything up as well. So
Yeah. Oh, it definitely does.
yeah, wow. I guess the bigger question isn't just like why people are considering going uninsured.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's the economy.
The economy.
Just the horrors as you know, the world.
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay, well, another hot button issue we've been seeing online.
Yes,
People are
yeah.
talking about it, and this is something that's a tale as old as time. We've been talking about this for probably the past like 10 years, but are college degrees losing their value? Are they? Who knows? College has long been considered as we know, the safest path to getting into a stable career, but more Americans and more people are starting to question whether the traditional 4-year degree is actually worth the cost. And you think about how many changes we've seen, even in the past 5 years with AI and everything that's going on. I mean, could you imagine getting a degree in coding and now coding is all being done by AI?
Oh, that would be so tough.
Oh my gosh, I'd be raging against the machine. And I don't know what that means, but I would be doing it. So I think just some numbers to talk about here. The average student loan debt for US borrowers is around $30,000 to $40,000, depending on the program. Some industries like tech, media, design increasingly are prioritizing skills and portfolios over degrees.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, think about like, what does it really take to get a job in tech, media, and design? Followers and like portfolios most of the time. But at the same time, workers with bachelor's degrees still earn significantly more on average over their lifetime than those without them. And that's according to the US Bureau of Labor Statistics. So I don't know. I mean, I think it's changing so rapidly, it's honestly hard to tell. And if I had a kid that was going to college this year, I would be like, I don't know what we should do because especially your first year, if you're out of state, it's like $75,000 to go to some of these schools that are
That's
state
crazy.
schools.
Yeah.
It's wild
It
and
is so
insane.
wild.
So I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I think it depends on the kid, you know what I mean? And
And the
what they wanna
degree.
be. Right.
Right.
Like, what do you wanna be when you grow up? I think is a huge part of the question. I
Mhm.
think if you don't know, taking time off from school might be the best route if you think they would be able to find their way back
Mhm.
and find their way eventually.
Totally.
I think, you know, if you were just thinking you were gonna go be undecided and maybe major in like
Business.
Russian literature or something,
Right.
don't do that. That cannot be a good use of your money.
Yeah.
Unless your parents have a lot of money, in which case, go for it, my guy.
Yeah.
Like,
Move to France. Who
move to
cares?
France. Like, really, like nothing matters. Uh, we're doing good. But like, I think if you don't know, or, you know, I think part of it is going to be learning from online spaces. A lot of the talk
Yeah.
about AI and all that stuff is happening maybe on Stanford campus or something, but it's not necessarily going to be you know, to shout out to our alma mater, it's not necessarily happening at University of Missouri all the time, you know?
Yeah.
I think you should be looking for programs specific in like growing fields. I think that would be what I would recommend.
Yeah, that makes sense. I will say, like, I do think if someone were trying to go to school for journalism or for news, you still would have to go get a degree. Like, I don't think you can just like
No, I don't think
willy-nilly
you can.
graduate high school and be like, hey, KABC, can I come work here? There's probably someone who's done it, but
Yeah, I mean, like, are your parents famous? Go for it then. But,
yeah.
I would also not
Are you a
recommend getting a
Nepo
degree in
baby?
journalism at
Yeah.
this junction. I would
Yeah.
maybe, it's not too late, like, figure out engineering really quick, just learn how to do science. Like, just throwing that
Yeah.
out there for you.
Really quickly while we're on the topic, just because I think it's interesting and our listeners might be slightly interested in this. How crazy is it that now Access Hollywood is debunked?
I know.
So first E! News was gone, now Access Hollywood. So now there's no longer any entertainment broadcast programming, right?
I think so. I mean, I'm
That's
sure there's
wild.
random stuff somewhere, but the two biggest ones are gone. R.I.P.
Pretty crazy. I mean, what a change in times. I mean, when we
End of an
first moved to
era.
LA, these places were still going.
Oh, for
But
sure.
we saw, I have to say, we saw the writing on the wall.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
Because people just started getting their information from their phone and not waiting for a 5 p.m. broadcast of someone doing a red carpet interview. So I
yeah.
wonder what this means for the future of entertainment journalism.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I've wondered for a while, honestly.
Yeah.
Even like red carpets, I think during the pandemic, celebrities realized that they didn't need to talk to us as
Mhm.
media. Like, so for context, I used to work red carpets, as did Tiege.
Yeah.
They sort of realized they could just publish stuff online and we would still cover it online. And they
Yeah.
didn't necessarily need to talk to us, which is an unpleasant experience for many of them. Fine, I get it.
Yeah.
Although I think we were always pleasant. Let the
Yeah.
record reflect.
No, we had a great time.
We always had a good time, but I think that's part of it. And I really also think and people started claiming like their mental health didn't allow them to take these questions willy-nilly from the press. And unfortunately, I think that is a little bit of holding people accountable from the public, but it's like less important than politicians maybe.
Yeah.
I still think that if you are in entertainment and you are a star, you do have a responsibility to like use your platform for good. I would hope that you believe that as well.
Yeah.
But I also think that I get it. Like, it's an unpleasant experience and it is like anxiety inducing. So I get why they don't do it. But all that to be said, I have no idea what the future holds for entertainment. I think we're seeing this crazy shift to short form video. We're seeing a lot of people put a lot less stock in A-list and B-list celebrities, the historic ones, and they're more interested in sort of niche creators from specific online internet spaces like gambling or whatever. And I think that we're seeing this bifurcation in the whole business. I don't know what's going to happen.
It's interesting. And like we used to do red carpets, we used to do the interviews,
Yeah.
and now a lot of the people that are doing the interviews are influencers. And a lot of people, especially the traditional journalists that I know, are like so annoyed by that. But I'm like, that's just what it is. If you want to do it, get on board and make a TikTok and, but it's easier said than done, obviously. And like, I don't want to give trouble to anybody, but it's just like, that's what it is happening. So if you want to get in on it, you got to keep going that way or do something else.
Yeah. I feel like it's a lot of comedians now kind of making jokes with other comedians, which is funny.
Mary Beth Barone, she did so great.
She did well. I mean, sure. And I'm not, no shade to them.
No.
I just am like, they're not asking questions because it's no longer a journalistic process. It's more like additional entertainment for us.
Which honestly is annoying because I was in it at the wrong time. Like, I just wanted to have fun on the carpets. I was really not asking hard-hitting questions, and that was fun, but everyone was like, "You need to ask hard-hitting questions." And now it's all about fun on carpets, and I'm like, "That's annoying."
Damn.
Wrong time, wrong place. Anyways, okay, what's this next story?
Oh, okay. So speaking of younger generations and how times are changing.
Yeah.
One reason Gen Z feels so alone is that older generations keep telling them the wrong version of their own stories. Let me explain. According to one Harvard psychologist, in interviews, people who went to college in the 1970s say they remember feeling confident and certain about their futures, but recordings of them at the time in the 1970s show they actually felt just as uncertain and lonely as kids today. So psychologists say it's because we tend to forget the messy middle and only remember the highlights and the ending, something called the peak end rule.
Okay, but how does this apply to millennials?
So we're still in the messy middle. We're in the thick of it with Gen Z, and we haven't had time to compress a lot of our lived adult experience the same way Gen X or the boomers have.
Yeah.
But eventually we too will probably romanticize earlier chapters of our adulthood once they're past them.
That's funny. I feel like millennials are so real that like that's not true. Like I feel like I will still be like 85 and be like, "No, it was hard."
Maybe.
I had a hard time.
We are we are kind of downers sometimes.
I just think we're like honest.
No, I do think we are, but I think it's sort of like the rose-colored glasses. You just put them on and I think it's a psychological thing, this peak end rule. Like your brain doesn't want to remember the hardest parts.
Right.
So like, for example, my grandmother was interned in the Japanese internment camps. That bitch never want to talk about that shit.
Yeah.
She would be like, "Oh, I had the greatest time doing XYZ at the casino," but she would never, ever want to talk about the worst parts. And I thought that was so interesting. And part of that might have been shame around being Japanese, whatever. But like still, I think eventually we'll be like, "Oh, well, the pandemic sucked, but like I made some of my best friends in that time."
Right.
You know, I think
well, that's
eventually it's a healing process too.
I think that's actually kind of nice.
Yeah.
You know, that we do default, our brains default to be like, "No, let's talk about the peak."
Right. I do think that's a little bit, I think that's nice. I think that's maybe healthy, but it is important to remember how you felt if you're talking to like your kids or whatever about like, "Oh, they're not working hard," or they shouldn't feel so worried about the future.
Yeah.
I think it's important to be like, I think we all felt this way at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully it's not worse than it was before, though it might be. And and like help them realize that everyone kind of goes through this.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. And I do feel like that makes sense. I also do feel like I see the problem in that. Like I see the problem in these older people mentoring these younger kids and being like, "No, it was great and we'd all worked out." And these younger kids being like, "What? I feel so lost." And so I feel like sometimes it's nice for people to like really reflect when they're giving advice to young children. But anyways.
Yeah.
Okay, so now what is this gray rock situation?
Oh, okay. So this is another trend that's going on online.
Okay.
If you've ever dealt with someone who's clearly trying to provoke you,
Mm-hmm.
this viral online strategy says the best move might be doing absolutely nothing.
Of course.
It's called gray rocking. And the idea is you respond with short, neutral answers and give the person just zero emotional reaction.
Yeah.
Basically, become a gray rock. And the strategy actually came originally from advice for dealing with narcissistic personalities, but people online now saying they're just using it for coworkers, exes, and internet trolls.
Wow. I think this is really powerful and also makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's so hard to be a gray rock.
It is.
Especially when someone's trying to provoke you.
Right.
If someone says something that's like kind of like irritates you or like feels like triggering, it's really hard to just become a gray rock. But I see the power in it.
Yeah. I mean, I've only ever had to employ this once in like an argument with like a former friend.
Mm-hmm.
But like it was hard because I could feel her like trying to get me. And I was just
of course.
Stop. What? Like,
yeah, you have to just, and sometimes in those situations, even like with, I don't know, just difficult people, you kind of have to just like turn your brain off and be like, "I'm not thinking about this. I can't, I can't engage."
Yeah. Or she was like pulling out different insults. And I was like, this is crazy though. Like,
yeah.
Yeah,
that's tough. But you were able to maintain your gray rock?
Yes. And I got out of there. She's like a former roommate, actually, of all things. And
like roommates are hard.
It was tough. It was a tough few months when we had to like break up, but it was fine. But yeah, evidently that's how you should deal with them.
Wow. I like that. I think that's good advice.
Yeah, I think so.
Because also like think about like if you get involved, you fight back, then it's all of a sudden you have like a rock fight. Like you don't need that.
Yeah. And like you stoop to their level.
Right.
Of like manipulation and fighting with like,
And then it keeps going. I think if you become a
Yeah.
gray rock, it's basically like whatever you say bounces off me. Like I don't need it.
Exactly. The old sticks and stones.
The old sticks and stones. Oh, perfect. Gray rock, stones.
Stones, exactly.
Oh, it all comes full circle.
Coming back around.
Okay.
Should we do sweeping?
Yeah, let's do sweeping.
Okay. A new dating trend says you should stop giving people one more chance.
Ugh. Couldn't agree more. Keep going.
It's called sweeping, and it means doing a clean sweep of your dating life, deleting old matches, cutting off ghosters, ending situationships that aren't going anywhere. This idea is to stop entertaining mixed singles and date only people who show interest, and think of it as like spring cleaning for your dating apps.
Absolutely agree. Look, here's the thing. It's like we really just need to be spring cleaning.
Yeah.
It's like, I cannot be holding on to rusty dusties who are texting me once or twice a month. Like, you're done.
Rusty dusties.
Rusty dusties. Like, stop coming back.
Yeah.
Stop doing it. Stop. What was the thing?
Stop watching my Instagram stories.
Stop liking things. Like, just disengage.
Yeah.
Like, if you're not in it, I'm sweeping you out. I don't have time, unfortunately. My brain has moved on.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not keeping around someone who is in and out or like popping in. No.
Yeah. Well, and it also feels kind of like they're coming back around because other things didn't pan out. And it's like, that's rude. Stop that. I don't want to be anybody's second choice. And I think sweeping is a good way to get rid of that.
I think sweeping is great. I actually love this. I love that we have a term for it.
I know, right?
Let's clean it out.
Clean it out.
Clean out the ghosts.
Okay.
And the cobwebs.
Right. Well, on that note, spring clean your dating apps, everyone, and your house, maybe.
Yeah, it's a good time for that too.
It is. It is. Well, thank you so much for joining us.
We love you. If you could like and subscribe, we'd love you more.
Tell your friends about us. Love you. Bye.
Bye.